I was literally just crying. Let's get started. Hi guys, my name is Alison. If you have not been here before, I make these every year. It is my unromanticized experience at UCI. I did it as a freshman, sophomore, and now I'm doing it as a junior. I am a double major in business administration and education sciences. I was also the president of my a cappella group this year, and I was a Disneyland cast member for a majority of the year. And as always, there's the chapters feature and the timestamps in the description so that you can skip to certain sections. As always, I like to start with what I accomplished in the year. Usually I started with the summer prior to the school year. First things first, I passed the test for my second ride at Disneyland, so I knew 2 rides. I said goodbye to my job at the elementary school. That was so sad. I miss it and I want to go back to working at an elementary school soon. I grew a lot in learning how to love platonically and romantically, and I became emotionally available. Except that low-key went too far and was too emotionally available, but we'll talk about that later. I successfully facilitated our a cappella auditions and callbacks. So stressful, oh my god. I joined a business club on campus. I got to be a mentee for the business club, and I also got to be a little for the business club. I got an Amazon internship. I got into my very first relationship ever. I took my a cappella group to the international competition for the first time ever. We put on a successful winter a cappella showcase. I saw BB No Money and Young Gravy in concert again. Every BB No Money concert I go to, best concert I've ever been to. So I gotta go again. I got trainer at one of my rides at Disneyland. I got a CVS internship. I got officially signed off as being a trainer at that ride. My business club, I became the VP of marketing. I flew alone for the first time in my life. I got a duet for one of our a cappella songs, La La La. I saw Sabrina Carpenter in concert. I got 100% in my favorite class from the year. And I went on a road trip with my boyfriend. Very fun. So my biggest tips and takeaways, career-wise, apply to the things that university recruiters send you. I noticed that whenever I did that, I had a better chance. Start now. Start applying to jobs and everything. Start networking. Start doing everything. Start now. Prepare for and attend job interviews. Even if you don't fully intend on working that job, it's really good experience to go to the interviews. And then you never know, you might actually end up loving that job. Network, network, network. And especially remember, while you are in school, make time to network with your professors, with faculty, stuff like that. Even if you don't think you're gonna need letters of rec, you might. And hear about careers that you're interested in. I feel like you don't fully know what the job is going to be like, so set up some coffee chats or go to events. I did a Zoom call with a guy who's a teacher. I did an elementary school visit with another teacher I know. I talked to one of our UCI alumni about HR and entertainment. So I'm exploring all the different paths that I'm interested in. My biggest tips social-wise, be honest. I am a fiend for communication. I love communicating. I love being honest. I don't know how people survive without being honest with the people around them. Maybe I'm a little too honest, I don't know. But I love communicating. I love getting things out there. Because I don't want to build up resentment. You know what I mean? This is something that I learned very recently. I was a little bit too available. So I need to pick who I spend my energy on more wisely. Relationships, romantic-wise, this kind of works for just platonic friendships too, but romantic relationships are the same thing, just oofed up a little bit. They require effort from both parties. Communication, 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 that is the biggest thing. My boyfriend and I do monthly check-ins, at least. And I love talking about my feelings. I will bring them up all the time. And then relationships, something that really I learned, because it's my first relationship ever, and I also think it's a very healthy relationship. They're going to make you learn a lot about yourself, and you're going to have to face a lot of things about yourself that you might not have necessarily wanted to. But that's good, it helps you grow. And then also, a huge thing for romantic relationships, try to maintain as healthy of a balance as you can between your relationship and your other friendships. That is something a lot of people struggle with, and it's honestly been really hard for me too, but I try my best. And that's all you can ask for. Honestly, overall, social-wise, I had a lot of social anxiety and social struggles this year. So yeah, I don't know if I can give my best social advice this year. Academic. My biggest advice academic-wise is to utilize your advisors, your career centers, your school job fairs and stuff while you have all these opportunities. And then also go to office hours, build rapport with your professors. Try to go to class, at least most of the time. I really struggled with that for a little bit. And then I started going to class again and started doing better, started being more engaged. Try your best. Now we're going to talk about where I started the year at. I'm going off of what I said in my last recap video, so basically where I ended sophomore year at. But I had given up on the digital filmmaking minor that I was in, and I fully dropped it this year. UCI defunded it, so I wasn't gonna have time to finish it, especially because I became a double major. I was open to making new friends. At the time, I felt like Disneyland had made me friendlier, and I think it is true, Disneyland kind of helped me open up, but again, I struggled with social anxieties this year. I was really glad that I had joined my a cappella group. I wanted to join a dance team at UCI. I loved both my majors. I was very lucky with my roommates and my housing situation. And I knew at that point that I needed to cut some things out of my life and prioritize more. So that's why at the end of sophomore year, I quit my production tech job. And then at the end of that summer, I said goodbye to my elementary school job. I loved working more than school. And I was going through it at that point. And then my life really turned up, honestly, after that. So like, every time I go to my lowest point, then it's when it gets really good. So hopefully that happens again. Moving on to social. I feel like the views on social stuff changed throughout the year. So at the start of the year, I had very much just learned to love romantically and platonically. I was like, oh my god, love. Give it out to everybody, everybody needs it. But now, reflecting on it, I think I kind of exhausted myself. I think I gave too much out to other people. I just, again, need to pick who I spend my energy on a little bit more wisely. Again, be honest, communication is key in friendships and relationships. I'm very much a person that wants to like fix things immediately. I'm like, let's communicate right now. I need to talk about this. I can't just let this like build up and simmer. A thing I realized this year was that I don't have any same year, same major friends. So I was like, bro, I'm gonna be sitting at graduations alone. And then I was really going through it winter quarter about social stuff. I made a whole video about it back in the day. I'll link it in the description. There were just a lot of changes happening in my life that like also affected my friendships. And then I was dealing with a lot of my social anxieties. And again, I was like trying to balance my relationship with everything else. I think a lot of my self-esteem about myself as a friend and girlfriend was like going down a lot. It started going back up now. I think that was like something that I didn't realize was also affecting me. I thought it was like all like external stuff. I didn't realize like the internal stuff. Anyway, this is getting too deep. I did a little bit better spring quarter. I was trying really hard to reach out to people again. Like starting high school and stuff, like I didn't really have friends. I was always like, Mom, why don't I have friends? And she was like, you gotta start reaching out to people. So yeah, I go through a lot of waves socially. I think I'm insanely like observant and self-aware. And that like kind of comes back to bite me because I think so much about like every interaction, about every social thing. It's hard for me to fathom that other people don't. You know what I mean? So like it kind of hurts myself because I'm like, oh my god, they must have known like this would hurt my feelings or something. Like how do they not realize this? I'm going off on a lot of tangents. It's been quite a year. Let's continue. Another thing I had to think about was I turned 21 this year. So for the social events leading up to that, I didn't drink at them. I think it's a very interesting experience to have. And I think it's an important one because I feel like it gave me a lot of empathy for the people who choose not to drink, maybe not just because of like age reasons, but because of other things like medical things or just personal preference, stuff like that. And I feel like, I don't know, I'm very glad that I have that empathy in me since I grew up feeling like left out so much. And like to this day, I feel like I'm always very much trying to include people, trying to make sure things are fun for them. So like at my 21st birthday party, I was very heavily focused. I was like, what can I do to make this fun for people who don't want to drink? I know that I definitely felt ostracized at certain social events because I didn't drink. But yeah, never feel pressured to drink or anything in college. I'm a queen at never giving into peer pressure. No peer pressure here. I think I also realized this year just how much I prefer one-on-one hangouts. I'm still working on my social anxiety, still working on balancing everything, but I think I'm hoping that it'll get better. I also this year lost a couple of friends. And the relationships. Yeah, I started dating my boyfriend this year. I met him last year. I think we have a very healthy relationship, so I'm very glad about that. The only thing is, like, as I said before, really try your best to balance your relationship with your other friendships. That's something that I'm always trying to work on. Something that I accepted this year was that I am an introvert, so I find it hard because, like, hanging out with him is so easy. I do also love being alone, but it takes a lot less energy than if I was to go out to a bunch of, like, other social situations. Yeah, I'm trying to, like, force myself to get back out there. Again, with relationships, they require effort from both parties. Again, communication. My boyfriend and I do monthly check-ins. We saw it on TikTok. So the questions are like, what's something I did that made you feel loved? And I usually, like, I'll bring a whole list. Is there anything that we need to improve in the relationship? Is there anything that you need that you feel that I'm not giving you? And then when was the last time that, like, I hurt your feelings and you didn't speak up? That question is super helpful for me because at the start of the relationship, I struggled a little bit with, like, bringing up things that made me upset, but I feel like as time went on, I loved bringing up my feelings. I really like that question because also, like, sometimes some problems, like, you don't need to talk about them immediately, you know what I mean? So then you can just kind of cover any bases that you missed during the month. Like I said before, relationships force you to face a lot of stuff about yourself, so they really force you to grow. That's something I don't know if I expected that fully in relationship. I think, honestly, it's so cliche, but everyone's always like, relationships come when you're not looking for it, and that's high-key what happened to me. There's so many nuances, we could talk about this for ages. On to the general academic tips and sort of reflections about my academics this year. Again, try to go to class as much as you can. I think my preference lately has definitely been shifting from online to in-person classes. I also started finally going to office hours and like advising. In my opinion, take college advisors' advice with a grain of salt and do your own research as well. I took a couple summer classes, and so fall quarter, I took Edu 25, which was an interdisciplinary view of education, which ended up being super easy because there was the whole UC like TA strike thing. Edu 10 was about research methods. It was super easy. The professor was funny. He was like, there's not gonna be like a bunch of homework and readings. He's like, if you show up to class, you will learn. And I love that. I think that's how it should be. And then I took Management 105, which was marketing. It was kind of tricky for me, but I ended up surviving and I got an A. Winter quarter. This was when it got a little rough. Until this point, guys, I have had a 4.0 in college. And now here we are. In college, they count A minuses as not a 4.0. I took Edu 151, which is about language and literacy. I was so excited to take it. I was like, it's such interesting content, but I got a little bit lazy in the class, I guess. I don't know if it was fully my fault, and I'm still to this day upset about my grade. It was like this one assignment. To me, the prompt did not explain everything that we needed to do. So like I completed the assignment how I thought we were supposed to. I got like half credit for it. I emailed the professor. I was like, I don't understand like this prompt, how I got like this grade. I was like, is there anything I could do to make it up? And she was like, no, but just do well on the rest of the assignments and you'll be fine. I got 100% on every assignment after that. And you know what I got in the class? An A minus. So I felt betrayed. Then I took Edu 144, which is about charter schools. And honestly, I found it really interesting to me, which I didn't think I was going to. I had that professor multiple times before this, so I already knew like his content. I knew how he teaches. For some reason, I got an A minus in that class too. I'm upset about that one because that one's graded off of like a paper and like 2 tests. Then I took Management 109, which was managerial finance. That was a really hard class, but they say that it's hard with any professor. I feel like mine really liked to skip the foundations though of what we needed to know. Somehow though, that's the class I ended up with an A in. I think it was the curve, I don't know. Spring quarter though, I was like, I'm gonna turn my life around. So I decided to actually do 4 classes. I'm generally a person that likes to do 3. Sometimes I would do 4. One time I did 2 when I was a part-time student. Usually what I do is I sign up for 4 classes and then I drop one. But with spring quarter, I signed up for 4 classes and I actually couldn't decide which of them to drop. So I did all 4. And I actually went to class and I was putting in effort again. Edu 128. This was my favorite class of the year. I have been so excited to take this class since I got to UCI as an education major. It was about exceptional learners, so that basically means students with disabilities and like gifted and talented learners, and I loved the course. It lived up to the expectations, it exceeded the expectations, and I love the professor. I got 100% in that class. And then I took Management 101, which was management science. Also love that professor. He was the sweetest old man. There are people who like complain about like his accent, or they're like, I can't hear him, I don't understand the content, but literally like, maybe it's because my brain is wired for math or something, but I just sat up front, I engaged with the content, and I listened, and so I did really well in the class. And I was that annoying kid who would be like, Professor, I think you put that number in wrong. Management 120, managing organizational change. This class was actually super interesting. I feel like the material is more life applicable. Like if someone was like, write me a study guide for this, I'm like, I could not tell you what I learned. But I feel like whenever I went to class, I was like so motivated. I was like, this is so applicable to my life. I'm like, my friendship struggles, all this. Like, I'm like, yeah, change. I also really liked the professor. The test and the grading were a little bit confusing. I still got an A. Then Management 110. This one's strategic management. I thought the class was pretty chill. Somehow, okay, cause girl, I studied. I went to the like midterm review session. So like, I was fully engaged. I don't know what happened. We had a multiple choice midterm, and I got a C, and the average was an A. So I was like, well, what happened? I did the best I could on the rest of the assignments, so I ended up with an A minus, luckily, thanks to the curve. I thought I was gonna get my very first B ever, but I did not. Overall thoughts, I think I generally prefer my education courses to my business ones. I just find them more interesting personally. I don't really have any like general academic tips for you guys. It varies depending on the class. Meet and communicate with your professors and your TAs to really show them that you are dedicated and engaged. I think it really helps to have that good rapport with them. Other tips I have for staying organized, I use a Google Sheet and I put down all of my assignments for the quarter. I color code them by class, and then I organize them chronologically, and I set the due date to be a couple days before it's actually due, so I can keep myself sort of ahead. I'm so good at that, guys, because otherwise I would be crying in a stress puddle. I've said it every year. The planner that I use is the Day Designer. I love it. I know they're expensive, but I need that Day Designer in my life. I have another document called Stuff to Do where I'll just brain dump all the stuff I need to do. Let's talk about extracurriculars. So as I said, for the majority of the school year, I was a Disneyland cast member. I worked at 2 rides, and I was the trainer at one of them, Slay. I loved the people, because Disneyland is such a social place. There are so many cast members. I loved the like social aspect of it. I felt like I met a lot of cool people, but I think it was also hard when a lot of my close friends went to a different ride. I felt very lonely. I didn't realize like how much of an impact like friendships make on you in the workplace, because before that I worked at an elementary school, so like I was hanging out with the kids all the time and that was also my work, so I was like, I don't know, I didn't really get it, but now I really see how much relationships like impact your satisfaction with work. The job was fun, the job was cool, like I felt so cool pushing my little buttons and stuff, knowing how to operate rides. The time commitment got really hard to balance with school, so that was ultimately why I left. Honestly, I don't know how I survived fall and winter quarter. And then also extracurricular wise, I was the president of my a cappella group. It was an insanely successful year. I am very proud of everything that we accomplished because we were a pretty new group. I feel very proud of what I did as president. They went on their first retreat. I actually wasn't a part of planning that. My board did it, but I'm so proud of them. We had our first merch thanks to our creative director. Like I said, we competed for the first time ever. We had a lot of performances. We really grew our repertoire. We really improved our sound, our performance, like how we look performing wise. I implemented an anonymous feedback form. I implemented one-on-one check-ins with all of the members. Again, like I told you guys, I'm a huge person about inclusion. I like to say I maintained 100% membership retention. There are like a couple where you could like debate it a little bit, but no, I say it's 100%. So I'm very proud of myself. I did really well with not micromanaging because I was so busy. I think that definitely helped. Because I was so busy, I was a much better delegator and not a micromanager. So I'm really proud of my management skills there, guys. And my business club, yes, I was a mentee, I was a little, and now I'm the VP of marketing. I'm very excited to be a mentor and a big. I'm a little nervous about the time commitment, but I'm very excited. I love the community in it. I felt super included. I felt like I learned a lot, and they had a whole mentorship program, so I got to, you know, work on my resume, my LinkedIn, all that stuff. I wasn't specifically interested in HR before, but now I think that's definitely a route that I would take since, okay, look, I'm an education and business double major, like those kind of go hand in hand. And like I told you guys, I'm huge about inclusivity, so like I love talent acquisition, recruitment, like onboarding. I love that stuff. Training, I was a Disneyland trainer, like this is my bread and butter. Let's talk about career. Go to job interviews, guys. Go to them, prepare for them. I was lazy about going to 2 interviews, but then I went to them and I actually ended up really loving the process. I left feeling super good about myself. Overall, it just gives you good practice. Like I make a Google Doc for like every job interview to like prepare for it. Be prepared for the commonly asked questions. Literally Google, see like, what do they normally ask in these sort of interviews? Or what do they ask in job interviews that I should prepare for? And use the STAR method. I believe it goes situation, task, action, result. So like talk about a situation you had, the task at hand, what action you took, and then what the result was. That's what they recommend a lot, so I tried to do that. I generally would talk about work experience things, so a lot of times I would relate it to my elementary school job. Sometimes I would do my Disneyland job. And if you don't have work experience, I also would connect it to my extracurriculars. Like I would talk a lot about a cappella. And then be sure that you've researched the company culture and their values, and always be sure to ask questions at the end of the interview, because there's always going to be a time when the interview is like, do you have any questions for me? It's good to have questions because it shows that you are engaged. Also, dress professionally. I was talking about this with like my managers because I'm a management intern. Also, like I said before, apply to the things that the university recruiters are sending to you. And I feel like I've kind of created like a brand for myself now. Like I keep pushing in this video. I feel like I've very much figured out kind of who I am, kind of what drives me, the experiences that I've been having, you know, Disneyland trainer, elementary school teacher, stuff like that. Like they're very much shaping this brand for myself, and I really like it. I'm like, this resonates with me. This is like who I am. Start now, guys. Be looking for internships, be looking for post-college jobs. Start thinking about like what you need to do to prepare. Maybe there are classes or courses or tests or something you need to take. Network, and utilize all the school resources while you're still here. Where I am now, Disneyland, but more so my old elementary school job, I feel like definitely gave me a lot of useful skills. I very much want to be someone that has an impact on lives. I no longer work at Disneyland. I think I'm going to continue in my a cappella group as a general member, but I am not going to be on the board. I did not run. I'm going to be on the board for my business club. I am aiming to get a job at an elementary school again. I'm really excited for that once my internship is over. A huge change in where I was versus where I am now is what my post-grad plans were. I was previously very much like, I was going to go into corporate, I'm going to go be a business girly right after college, but now I'm kind of like maybe more education, more like teaching. I'm still struggling a bit socially, but I'm very much trying to get myself back out there. I think I very much just need time to heal myself. But yeah, there's something my Disney coworkers always used to call it my razzle dazzle, because when I first got there, I was such a bubbly, super positive, always smiling, that person who's always like, oh my god, guys, let's go eat, let's go do this, let's go do that. And they're like, yeah, the razzle dazzle kind of died. And it did. I know it did. So I'm trying to heal my razzle dazzle, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any more questions, you can leave them in the comments. Okay, bye guys.